Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back होइन आज हामी आइसकेको छौँ फेरि होइन अर्को भिडियो लिएर होइन सो गाइज आज अलि साउन्ड प्रब्लम होला होइन बाहिरको आवाजहरू आइरहेको होला होइन सो त्यसको लागि सरी होइन सो आज हामी यु नो द्याट होइन गाइज मसरुम मसरुमको अब टाइम ल्याप्स कसरी लिन्छ जस्तै कि फङ्गीहरू के अब लेउहरूदेखि लिएर त्यो हुन्छ नि टाइम ल्याप्स लिन्छ नि मान्छेहरूले होइन त्यो चाहिँ कसरी लिन्छ होइन हाउ मसरुम्स टाइम ल्याप्स आर फिल्मड क्या होइन यो चाहिँ वियर्ड युट्युब च्यानलले हालेको रहेछ होइन 1 विक एगो सो वी गन वाच द्याट होइन टाइम ल्याप्स गर्न धेरै गाह्रो छ गाइज धेरै मुस्किल छ होइन सो वी गन नो इट होइन हाउ दे मेक टाइम ल्याप्स है त गाइज सो लेट्स गेट इन्टु इट गाइज
This documentary, Fantastic Fungi, features amazing time-lapse footage filmed by a team of cinematographers that included this pioneering filmmaker.
My name is Louis Schwartzberg. I'm a filmmaker, and I love to take audiences on journeys through time and scale. And that's a real rush.
Let's go behind the scenes and find out how these time-lapses were made for Fantastic Fungi.
Well, I think the biggest surprise for people watching the film is they think that it's all filmed outdoors. And there's a lot of reasons why you can't film time-lapse of plants and fungi outdoors. Number one, there's wind, which would make the object shake and rattle and look like a Charlie Chaplin movie. Number two, there are bugs and other elements that would interfere with the filming. The light has to be constant. You know, even during the day, the light fluctuates. So I built a studio on top of my garage. If I was shooting one frame every 15 minutes. That means I'm shooting 4 frames an hour times 24 is 96 frames. 96 frames is 4 seconds of film. So the way it works is I had somebody build an intervalometer for me. Intervalometer means it triggers a camera 1 frame at a time. There you go. In 24 hours, we'll have 1 second of film. It also triggers the grow lights to come on and off. And the photo lights. And the photo lights is the beauty light, the gorgeous tabletop cinematography lighting. The grow lights are these sort of LED lights that are kind of weird and pink. I think they were developed for people growing cannabis. And I'm able to program the grow lights to be like sunrise and sunset. If I leave the grow lights on 24 hours, they die. I set up shots in the morning. I check them at night. I realize I've turned it into a spiritual practice. It actually literally gets me up in the morning because as soon as I'm out of bed, I'm thinking, oh, I wonder what the flower did last night. Is it still in frame? Is it in focus? I have to imagine what the framing and the composition is going to look like tomorrow or 2 days from now or a week from now. And that is a transformational experience because you have to put your mind into the mindset and the intention of the flower or the fungi, thinking where it's going to grow, how big will it get, and if you're right, boy, it's a rush. And if you're wrong, it means you just got to do it all over again.
Louis and his team consulted mycologists, fungi experts, on how to grow mushrooms in an environment free from bacteria and bugs for the film. But which was the most photogenic fungus?
Lion's mane had these little kind of tiny tentacles that would emerge and they would wiggle in this really beautiful wave-like pattern. I'd say roughly, the ratio of success to failure is roughly about 1 out of 6, maybe 1 out of 10. It's extremely difficult to do. When I'm shooting the close-up of the fungi growing, we create a miniature set. Moss and logs and rocks, time-lapse macro cinematography. Your depth of field is very shallow. We use macro lenses, 100 millimeter Canon, 180 millimeter Canon, and a 35 millimeter micro lens. So naturally the audience won't be focusing on the background. If I'm doing more of a master shot, where we use, for example, motion control, we will put up a blue screen and then we will composite in a sky or a forest to really make it believable. To be able to move the camera was something that was impossible to do in special effects prior to motion control cinematography. So with motion control, they took cameras and combined it with computers to do a repeat move, meaning it shoots 1 frame, it stops, shoots another frame, and stops, and you have this controlled dolly move while the mushroom is growing. Basically, it's dolly track and a tripod head that now has little motors on it that enables the computer to program a pan, a tilt, and the length of the move on the dolly, as well as control the camera and focus. All these things have to be working together as if it was a real-time shot.
But one critical component of the fungi story was impossible to film using traditional techniques.
The mycelium is like the tree, and the mushroom is like the apple to the tree.
The mycelium, an underground root-like system that branches out, kind of like the internet, connecting plants and trees to each other.
You got a couple of problems here. A, no light. B, smaller than the eye can see. It's only 1 cell thick. So what we did was we used scanning electron microscopic photography. For the electron microscope to work, they work in a lab on a giant slab of concrete because any vibration would ruin the shot. You take the specimen and you put it under the microscope and you bombard it with electrons and you get the most extraordinary close-up detail that is unimaginable to the human eye. And we use those images as a reference for computer-generated animators to use, and we created these incredible shots of traveling through the mycelial network.
Throughout his career, Louis has pushed the envelope of our visual language, both in terms of tech and artistry. He also pioneered the stock footage industry. The company he formed to license his vast library of clips was eventually bought by Getty Images.
I started shooting time-lapse 4 decades ago by looking at time-lapse clouds back in 1970 when I pioneered the first 35mm cameras that could go outdoors and shoot 1 frame at a time, shooting fungi and flowers and plants. I basically have a camera rolling 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
From commercials to IMAX to feature films, it's impossible to not have seen the work of Louis Schwartzberg at some point in your life.
I love to film hummingbirds. Again, looking at life from their point of view enables you to realize that all of life has a different metabolic rate, and I think all of life has a different frame rate. So for example, a mosquito on your arm, having a little drop of blood, takes a look at that hand coming towards it in ultra slow motion and has plenty of time to take off because its metabolic rate, its lifespan is way shorter than our lifespan. And our lifespan is way shorter than the redwood tree's lifespan. This reality of, real-time human point of view is not the only point of view. And that's really the beauty of cameras and time-lapse cinematography. It's actually a time machine. And you could talk about this stuff in scientific terms. You could have Einstein explain the theory of relativity. But until you see it, you really don't get it. The longest thing I've ever shot was a mouse rotting. You can say that decomposition is the end of life. I argue that it's the beginning of life. You see this kind of rippling of the fur, and then that kind of dissipates, and then you see some bones, and then you see the grass grow up in between. To observe the pattern and the rhythm of how it decomposes is actually really beautiful.
Louis' art has given him a unique perspective on nature, time, and the nature of time.
What I'm really engaged with is really trying to understand, the intelligence of nature and how we can live in harmony with it. And that means at times using, a time-lapse camera to be able to observe it in their time frame. It's a shared economy under the ground where nutrients.
So, how was that guys, हैन? टाइम ल्याप्स बनाउन एकदमै सजिलो जस्तो लाग्दैन क्या. टाइम ल्याप्स बनाउन धेरै टाइम लाग्छ, मेहनत लाग्छ हैन. मेन कुरा चाहिँ अब त्यो क्षमता चाहिन्छ क्या हैन. तिमीले कसरी हेर्छौ त्यो क्षमतालाई हैन? पर्सपेक्टिभ अफ भ्युइङ द नेचर हैन. नेचर कसरी बिस्तारै हैन ग्रो हुन्छ, एनालाइज गर्नुपर्छ हैन. सो यु लाइक इट, होप आई नो द्याट यु लाइक द्याट भिडियो हैन. सो हैन, फर the I guess this man works like 40 to 45 40 50 years, yeah, 40-50 इयर्स चाहिँ उसले त्यो फर्ममा काम गरिसकेको छ 40-50 इयर्स गाइज लिटरली इट्स भेरी लङ पिरियड होइन सो होप यु लाइक इट होइन लाइक सेयर सब्सक्राइब गरिदिनु मन पऱ्यो भने सो सी इन द नेक्स्ट भिडियो गाइज जय बलनाथ